Ooh. Wow. Okay. Okay. Wrong way. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Ty Visuals back with another video. So today, well, first before I get into the intro, the last video that I uploaded, I believe it almost got 300 views. That video you guys actually enjoyed. The new setup video was part 4. Let me see how much it got. It got 213. So you guys really enjoyed that. And like I say, each other week I'm gonna do a part 5, 6, 7, 8 to all of my playlists. But so I don't want to spoil that video. I got some cool things. You'll see it in the thumbnail. I'll put the link in the description. That video was pretty cool. So this video, as you can see from the title, is a story time. This is the second story time I've done. Never done another one except for the first one. If you want to go back and look at it, you can. If not, just enjoy this one. Stay tuned. If you're new, subscribe. Old, like, not new, not old. Comment, do what you gotta do. And stay tuned to the whole video. I'm gonna let the intro run and see you in like 10 seconds. All right. So usually with a story time, it would be like a 15, 20, 30-minute video into full detail. So with my story times, of course, I'm gonna give you detail of what happened. And I mean, of course, you can see from the title what happened or like the kind of the main idea. But I don't want it to be some boring 15, 20-minute video. I'm gonna make it still at least like around 10 minutes or so, but still give you as much detail as possible because I don't want you to get bored halfway through and then click off. So let's get straight to the point. So as you can see from the title, it's basically how I got stranded in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. So how I got stranded in the middle of nowhere. So the only information that you will be given is just off of my experience. I don't really have any pictures just because during this situation, I wouldn't take any pictures if you're panicking in the middle of nowhere. But I'm gonna get to the point. So basically this happened about 2 months ago, and this is around where I first started driving and I got my license. So I want to say closer to the end of 2020, like November, December is around when I got my license. So I had my license for about 3 or 4 months now. I drive on my own, but this occurred around, I think it was December. And basically what happened was I wanted to go to the mall. I wanted to go to Towson Mall, and where I live, Towson Mall is about 20, 25 minutes. So and that's not including traffic. So it's a little distance. So I want to go to the mall. It was a Sunday evening, and usually we never leave the house for Sunday evenings, especially if we have church. And I really wanted to go out because I basically want to go to the Apple store and a couple just things in Towson Mall that Security Square Mall didn't have, because that was the closest mall that's local to me besides Columbia. But Columbia, I believe, was closed early. Towson was the only mall that was near me that wasn't closed, so I had to go to Towson. So I asked my parents, and of course they said, no, don't leave the house. You have you don't have a good reason to, usually I only leave the house for like want to work out, go to the gym, track, work, school related things. Other than that, I don't really leave the house. So they kind of just know where I'm going, and they're not really that strict, but they just don't want me going out at 7 at night just to go to the mall when I can go like tomorrow or another day, which is understandable. But at the same time, I really didn't want them to say no. Like I really wanted to go. So when they told me no, I basically went back in my room, and in this like 5 to 10 minute standpoint, I tried to figure out a way that I can make an excuse that I can go. Because I know if I ask too many times, they'll eventually catch on and just keep saying no. So this first excuse has to be spot on. So basically I used my brothers. So if you don't know, I have 2 brothers. They both live on their own. So I asked my middle brother, my second brother, and I asked him if he can cover for me. So basically the plan was that he would basically be my alias, or whatever you call it, my backup plan. I don't really know the word for it, but basically my parents will know that I'm with him. So if they call just to be sure where I'm at, he'll pick up the phone and be like, oh yeah, he's over my crib, he's safe. And usually when they know I'm with family or someone they trust, they don't really worry. So as long as I told them I'll be over, my brother's house, they'll be like, okay, cool. And I go over my brother's house whenever I feel like it. So, but as long as it's someone they know and it's family and they trust, it's all good. So I went in there and I said, okay, I'm gonna go over my brother's house for about 2 hours. And is that fine? Just to chill. I don't really need to give them a reason, but basically just to chill. And after some convincing, they said, yeah, and of course they called him just to see, if that was okay and everything was straight. So I told him the plan. He was cool with it. He didn't really care. So when I left, I want to say I left at around 7:30 to 8ish p.m. So it wasn't too late, but it was like basically dark outside. Like I said, this is during the December, like the pinnacle of winter, so it was really cold. I want to say it was like 30 something degrees. It was only like 2 months ago, so it was still during the winter time. It was still pretty cold. And basically, I left the house at around 7:38. And of course, I didn't drive to his house. I drove straight to Towson Mall, which took me about 25 minutes. There was traffic, so maybe it was 30. But all that my parents knew in their head was that I was going to my brother's house. So I'm on my way. I'm chilling. Everything's going fine. I had to get a big coat because it was cold. I layered up. I was chilling. Drove there. And I made it. And they were about to close because, on Sundays things close earlier than what they regularly would on a weekday, like Monday through Friday, even Saturday. So I believe they were closing in like literally 30 minutes. So I hurry up and went. I went to the Apple store, like I said. I went to a couple other stores. I got the things I needed. So the trip was actually kind of successful. But then as I'm leaving back from the mall, this is kind of where things go bad. So everything I just told you up to now was just telling you what happened and preparing for it. But now on the ride back is where the issues happen. So I eventually leave the mall. There's pretty much no one else in the mall. It was like 10 minutes before they closed. So I'm in my head, I'm thinking the trip was successful. I just go back home. It only took me about an hour. So I may just take the longer route home so it won't seem too suspicious. Because you got to be smart about it, right? So before I actually pull out of the parking lot, I noticed that my car is like rumbling. Like okay, I have an old vehicle. It's like 15 plus years old. So it has its ups and downs, but it was never anything like this before. It was like rumbling bad. It was like the conveyor belt and the hood was squeaking. Like the parts didn't sound good. So I was like, okay, let me turn off the car and let me see what's going on. So I open up the hood, everything looked normal. So I'm like, okay. And then usually not even an experienced driver, but every driver should know this. Apparently I didn't. But every time when you go into the car, you should check where your battery is. Or not your battery, well, yes, your battery, but your gas as well. So like your oil fluids, where's your battery at in your car, and your gas pretty much. I didn't check my gas. I usually do. I didn't check my gas, but I think that was the reason why my car was rumbling so bad. Looked at the gas. It had like, I want to say a fourth of a quarter tank left, which means it was nearing E. So I was like, okay, that's still a lot of time for me to get some gas somewhere. Now, I'm not familiar with the place. I don't live near Towson. Like I said, it's a 25-minute drive, so I'm just kind of confused on where I'm going. So I was like, okay, let me go on my GPS, find the nearest gas station. The nearest gas station, I think I put it in the GPS. I don't know why. Someone explained to me why GPSs do this. But sometimes when you hit the nearest store or gas station or fast food place, most of the time they don't give you the closest. They give you like the best rated one, which I don't understand. Like I put in the thing and I was like the closest gas station to me. And then it gave me a list of them. And the top one said like 5 miles, 10 miles. But then the one that they like suggested for me was like 15 miles away. And then I looked on the list and the shortest one was like 1 mile. But what I didn't do is because I was panicking, I didn't look at the one that was closest to me. I thought the one that they give you was the closest one, which I didn't know. But apparently not. Most of the time, they just give you the best one in the area, not the closest one. So my tail went 15/20 miles all the way to that gas station that was literally going away from my house. So this is my house. This is the mall. This is the gas station they were taking me to. It was literally just going further away from my crib. So now I'm approximately like 40 miles away from my house. Yes, that is a long distance. I am literally like 40 miles plus away from my home. Keep in mind, it's around like 8:30-ish, 9 right now. And by now, I should almost be home. So if I'm not home in the next 30 minutes by now, they're gonna get suspicious. So I'm on my way to the gas station, and then I realized that the little orange line where it says it's on E, it's now lighting up. It's now on E. And usually one thing you should know is that when your like fuel is low or when your empty gas light comes on, basically depending on your vehicle, like if you have an SUV car or whatever, most vehicles have about 10 to 20 miles before they eventually shut down. So I knew in my head, I was like, okay, my gas light just turned on. I got like another 10 miles and I have about 15 miles until my car turns off. So I was like, okay, let me calm down. I'm good. So stupid me was panicking. Looked at the GPS. The GPS said, I believe it said take a left, and I just kept going straight. I just wasn't paying attention because there was so much going through my head and I missed the turn. Now this is bad because every extra mile taken by me is going to be worse and worse because, you know, each extra mile is going to be gas wasted. So in my head, I'm really panicking now. So I went straight instead of left, kept going, realized I made the wrong turn, and I was like, crap. Like, this is exactly what I need. So then I eventually turned around. The light's still on yellow. Gas is of course still empty. The car hasn't turned off yet. The car is still rumbling the way it was. And I'm pretty sure it was rumbling because it was just low on gas and also just fluid in general. I needed like an oil change and all of the above pretty much. So I got all that now, but at the time I didn't. I was a new driver, didn't know what I was doing. So I kid you not, at this point I am literally about 5 miles away, and usually 1 mile is about a minute. Most drivers know that, depending on if you're on the beltway, highway, or on a regular street road. 1 mile is about a minute with a vehicle. That's about 45 seconds to a minute. So if it says 10 miles, it's going to be about 10-15 minutes depending on traffic. So it said I was 5 miles away from the gas station. I think it was a Shell gas station. And I was like, okay, I got about 5 minutes until I reach the gas station. Literally, I'm like 2 minutes away, and then my car just slowly just stops going as fast as it was. So I don't think the gas in the vehicle was completely gone. I just think that the gas was like literally leaking to the point to where it's about to be gone. So it wasn't gone yet, but it was about to be. Because the meter said 50 miles per hour. And the way I was pushing the gas pedal, it said 50 miles per hour. But I was going more like 20. Like it did not feel like 50. I was going super slow. Nothing felt right. So I was like, okay, let me pull over to the side, because I don't want it to, like, if it does stop on me, I don't want it to be in the middle of the road where I can cause more traffic and maybe an accident. So I was like, let me pull over in a random neighborhood, turn it off so I won't waste gas, and let me see what's going on. Like I said, I'm a new driver, so I have no idea what I'm doing. I turned off the car, but instead of taking the key out, I kept it in the ignition. Basically what this does, especially when your gas is low, is your battery in your car continues to run. Especially when you have low battery, that's even worse. And you can see all of that on your front dashboard, like how charged your battery is, or your gas, your fluid, your all that stuff. It basically shows all in there. I didn't know what any of that meant, but a red battery kept saying like low battery or something like that. And when you keep the key in ignition, the radio keeps running. Basically, everything else in the car keeps running except for the engine. So like your radio, even if you don't have the sound on, your radio is still playing. The battery is still being used. So I got out the car for a good 20 minutes just to see if I can do anything myself to like keep the car chill, to keep the car running, and just so these next 2 minutes I can make it home safely and get gas. As I'm doing this, the car is still technically running. The battery is running, right? So 20 minutes goes by and I go back in the car. Keep in mind, this neighborhood, it's actually a very sketchy neighborhood. The houses were like far apart from each other. It wasn't like a regular residential area. It was like almost like a farm, kind of like agriculture type area. So it was very sketchy. So I put the ignition in, turned it, car was not turning on. At this point, I'm dumb scared. Took the key out, put the key back in the ignition, turned it again. It was rumbling like a regular car does, but it just wasn't actually turning on. So I was like, you know what? Let me not panic. Let me breathe out, and I'm gonna try it again. So I tried it literally 10 more times, and the car was not turning on. Like, you know when you put the key in the ignition and you turn it and does that rumbling sound, but it never actually turns on because it's either out of gas or the battery's out. I think I was out of gas and the battery was out. So I was just completely destroyed, right? My first idea was basically to ask someone, in the area if they had jumper cables that they could probably like charge my car up. I had never done that before, hoping they would. But I literally walked from one house to another, and like I said, it's pitch black. I'm basically in like the farm fields. The first thing that came to my head was just a horror type film. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay in my car, and I have two options. Either ask around if people have jumper cables and know what they're doing to help me so I can get out of this while getting in trouble, or two, just take the L and ask my dad to come pick me up and bring jumper cables. Because I knew he had some and I knew he knew what he was doing, but in the cost, I would take an L and get in trouble. So, thought about it, and that's exactly what I had to do. I had to call him, but when I called him, this is how the conversation went. He said hello. I said hello. He said, why are you calling me? You should be on your way back home. I still acted as though if I was still over my brother's house. So I was just talking as if I was. So I was like, yeah, I'm on my way. Do you have any jumper cables? He said, why? And I said, just in case if I need them. He said, he wasn't even trying to answer me. He was just like, why? And then eventually at this point, I just had to tell him. I was like, I'm at Towson. He was like, why are you at Towson? I thought you was over your brother's house. And all of you know how that story is gonna win. I told him I got in trouble. Well, technically, actually, I didn't really get in trouble. Like, literally the next day, it just felt like the situation didn't even happen. And it's funny because after the whole situation happened, it didn't even feel like it happened because I didn't even get in trouble. Like, it was actually very, very weird. It just didn't feel right. But he eventually had to come and drive 35 minutes plus just to bring jumper cables, start the car up. And by the way, starting the car up, it took a very long time because the car was sitting there for like 30 plus minutes so he can drive all the way there. Plus the time that I was spending keeping the battery on. And the car was just sitting in the cold with like this much of gas left and this much of battery left. And it was a bad situation. But he eventually did get the car back on. And we drove it to the gas station that I was driving to, 2 minutes away. And we were basically able to put like $10 of gas in there that allowed us to go back home, pour more gas in it, and basically I made it home safe. But during the time that he was coming to pick me up and that I landed at the residential place or wherever the farm fields, wherever that was, because I'm not calling it a residential place. It was too sketchy. I was there for like 30 plus minutes in 30-degree weather. Even if I got inside my car, the car wasn't running. Like, it was eventually dead at that point. Nothing was happening. Like, the car was basically just dead weight. It was just there. And I was basically pretty cold. And my dad always told me, make sure in this weather, bring a heavy coat just in case you get stopped on the road. This was that exact situation, and I didn't bring a heavy coat because I was always stubborn. And now, when I go out, not every time, but most of the time, I do bring at least something that'll cover me if I get pulled over on the road and I can't make it home. So it was freezing. It was a bad situation. But when we did eventually get back home, because I followed him back home, when we did eventually get back home, we didn't talk about it. We didn't address the situation. The next day, we didn't address the situation. The week later, we didn't address the situation. And something that serious, especially for a new driver, you would expect your parents to sit down and talk to you about it and kind of tell you or give you a punishment or something, whatever. I was expecting something, maybe a week off of my license, something. I was expecting something bad. Nothing happened. He didn't talk about it. My mom didn't talk about it. I don't know. And I can't make the excuse that they were tired because they could have said something the next day, and they didn't. They didn't say anything to me. So I'm over here sitting as though nothing just happened. And still to this day, we have not talked about it, ever. And it was a pretty big situation because after everything was said and done, we eventually got home at like 11:30 at night. So keep in mind, I was supposed to be home at around 8:39. And I ended up, 2-3 hours later getting home at like 12:30, almost midnight. And this situation also, I was 30 plus minutes away, plus traffic, probably 40, with no gas, being irresponsible, all of the above. And he had to take time out of his night to drive 30 minutes plus over 40 miles just to basically fill in for my irresponsibleness. And they didn't say a word about it. And I drive every day to work, to wherever I want to go. Sometimes when I leave the house, I don't even say where I'm going. So it literally just doesn't even act like I had a punishment. That's why I'm kind of surprised. Like, if they were outside the door right now listening to me, I mean, that would be the first time we would be talking about the situation. So hopefully they're not right outside the door. But yeah, we never talked about it. Everything was just standstill, and yeah, that was pretty much it. So yeah, that was basically the story of me getting stranded basically in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. I thought that was a little fun story I'd tell y'all. I never told anybody. Well, I told my friends that, but I never thought I would say it to anybody else just because the situation was kind of dropped because they never talked about it anymore. Never, gave me a consequence. So if you like the story time, let me know. If you didn't like it, also let me know. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you're old, you're not old, comment, do what you gotta do. Let me know if you enjoyed. Let me know what would you do in this situation if you were stranded. Would you take the consequence and just take the L so you can be safe? Or would you basically be sketchy about it and ask people around and see if they had jumper cables? I don't know. That's what I did. I rather took the L, but technically it wasn't the L, so I don't know how you guys would take it. Like the video. Let me know how you liked it, and stay tuned. Another video coming out this week. Peace out. On the level, ready to go, ready to go, yeah, ready to go, ready to go, ready to, this is shit they never know. I've been dealing with